Welcome to the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast. This podcast is dedicated to EAS employees of the U.S. Postal Service and members of the National Association of Postal Supervisors. So, pour yourself a cup of coffee and join us for today's episode. And now, here's your host, Robert Wakefield.
And good morning, Branch 32, and good morning to all of our EAS friends across the country. Welcome to the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast, presented by the Nashville Post Office Credit Union. I'm your host, Robert Wakefield, president of Branch 32. That's right! Yes! That is awesome. Please be seated, studio audience. All right, we got a great show lined up for you today, so let's go ahead and let's pour that first cup. Hey, parents and grandparents, let's celebrate Youth Appreciation Month with a head start toward financial freedom. All August long, when you open a savings account for your child or your grandchild at the Nashville Post Office Credit Union, we'll deposit $25 to get them started. It's never too early to teach smart money habits, and what better way than to give a gift that grows? Whether they're toddlers or teens, this is the month to invest in their future. Don't wait. August is the perfect time to make saving sweet. So stop by today and celebrate Youth Appreciation Month at the Nashville Post Office Credit Union. People helping people since 1925. And for our first cup today, I want to continue the topic of boss versus leader. I've had two podcasts discussing this topic, and we're going to look at it a little bit differently from the prior podcast. We're not going to be talking about, definitions or traits like we did in some of the earlier podcasts. But we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about moments. Because sometimes it's not what's written in a handbook. It's what happens in the break room, or it's on the workroom floor, or during that 6 a.m. stand-up talk when everybody's just running on fumes, nobody's awake yet. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to do our third podcast on boss versus leader. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the shift from being the boss to being the leader. And we've all seen it happen. I know I have. A supervisor walks in, has a clipboard in his hand, and he's ready to check off the boxes and issue directives. Now, that is definitely the boss's mode. Right, he's handing out orders. This is what we're going to do. We're going to split this route. We're going to cover these. Whatever the situation is, that is the boss's mode that he's in. But then something happens. Something shifts. Maybe a clerk breaks down in tears, or maybe a carrier's been out for 3 days and no one has asked him why. And suddenly, that same supervisor puts that clipboard down and invites that person into his office and says, "Talk to me. What's going on?" Now that is leadership. It's not about being soft. It's about being present. Bosses, you see, they manage tasks, right? But leaders manage relationships. And in the Postal Service, relationships, let's face it, they're everything. We're not just moving the mail, we're moving people through the tough days, the heavy loads, the high expectations we place on them. We're moving people, and that changes the dynamic a little bit. Let me tell you I'll tell you this story first, and then I may tell you another one. The first one that I tell you is, let me tell you about this station manager that I knew a long time ago. She wasn't flashy. She didn't talk too much. But here's what she did. Every morning, she walked the floor and she greeted every employee by name. And she asked everyone this question: what do you need from me today? Now, That was her leadership style. It was quiet. It was consistent. Let me tell you something. It was effective. Well, one day, this new supervisor came in, and they were fresh out of ASP, the Associate Supervisors Program. Years ago, that was the training program. And this guy was full of energy, and he was ready to fix everything. So he started issuing orders, changing schedules, tightening up the reins, passing out, discipline. He was really, really in there for, just to really shake things up. And within a week, morale dropped to an all-time low. People stopped talking to each other. They just stopped talking altogether. And the tension on the workroom floor, you could cut it with a knife. Well, my manager friend didn't scold that guy. She simply brought him into the office, and they had some snacks there. And over the snacks, she said, "Look, you've got the authority. Now, earn the trust." That line stuck with me. Earn the trust. Because you see, being a leader is not about knowing everything. It's about knowing your people. Now, I'll tell you this story. This guy that I knew, I knew the day before that he had been to the VA. He was a veteran, great guy. And so I knew the day before he was off for a visit to the doctor. And he came up to me on the workroom floor. He says, "I need to talk to you about something." And I said, "Okay, well, go ahead." He said, No. I need to talk to you in your office." I said, "Well, sure, come on in." So we went to my office, shut the door, and pulled out a chair for him and everything, sat down, pulled my chair in front of him, and I said, "Well, tell me, what's going on?" He took a deep breath, and he said, "Well, I went to the VA yesterday." And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, I got a diagnosis that I've never heard of before." And I said, "Really? What is it?" And he looked me in the eye and he said, "My doctor says that I have anal glaucoma." Well, I was stunned. I said, "Anal glaucoma? I've never heard of that." And he took a deep breath and he said, "Yes, I cannot see my butt coming into work tomorrow." I said, "Get out of my office." He was so funny. He had told the whole workroom floor he was going to do this. The whole office was just busting out laughing when we came out of the office. So, it's just so important that he felt comfortable enough with me that he could come in there and play that joke on me. And that's what leadership is. It's about knowing your people. So leadership shows up in the little things. When you notice someone struggling and you go up to them and you ask, "Is everything okay?" When you stay late to help a new employee finish their route. Or when you admit that you were wrong in front of all your employees. Well, that's not easy to do, is it? Those moments don't make headlines, but they do build a culture. And here's the twist. Sometimes the best leaders don't even have the title. I've seen clerks lead by example. I've seen carriers that mentor other carriers, and they help each other. Custodians help setting the tone for respect. We've all seen examples of the best leaders that don't even have a leadership title, because leadership isn't a rank. It's a choice. It's a daily choice to show up with integrity, empathy, and humility. So, here's my challenge for you this week. I want you to think about one moment where you can lead, not because you have to, but because you want to. Maybe it's checking in with someone that you usually just say hello to, and that's it. Maybe it's giving credit where credit's way overdue. Or maybe it's just listening, really listening when someone needs to vent. You don't need a handbook for that. You just need a heart. And if you're already doing that, which many, many of you are, keep going. You're the ones that are shaping the culture, and you're shaping it one moment at a time. So keep that going. And so that's our first cup on a boss versus leader. Let's go ahead and pour that second cup. Hey, Nashville Postal employees, the summer sizzle's almost over, but your sweet tooth still has time to shine. It's the final days of free ice cream at the Nashville Post Office Credit Union, and we're scooping up smiles all August long. Did you hear that, Brian Wagner? You've got the month of August. You better hurry. Whether you're a longtime member or a new member of the credit union, swing by for a cool treat and learn what makes the Nashville Post Office Credit Union your hometown financial hero, from low rates to hometown service. But hurry, August melts away fast, and so does the ice cream. Join us before the last scoop drops. The Nashville Post Office Credit Union, people helping people since 1925. For our second cup today, I want to make an announcement to everyone who listens across the country, and especially to those in Branch 32. At our meeting this past Tuesday night, we are going to kick off what is called the September Spectacular. That's right, the September Spectacular. Did you see what I did right there? Thank you very much. Please, thank you. Be seated. We're going to start a month-long drive to try to get people to sign up for the Drive for Five program, where through payroll deductions, you give $5 a pay period, and it goes straight into SPAC. And I would love to see this become a nationwide movement. I've sent it to my good friend Dee Perez, and I've showed it to Bob Levy. And speaking of Bob, I talked to him the other day, and I asked him the question, well, nationwide, how many people do we have in NAPS that are doing the Drive for Five program? And he said, well, wait a minute, I can look that up. So he pulled up his reports and did some filters and all that stuff. And I was shocked at the number of people who are involved nationwide in the Drive for Five program. Are you sitting down? 180. I was shocked. I was totally shocked. I thought it would be 1,000, maybe 2,000, because we have almost 29,000 members in NAPS. And the money goes directly into our SPAC account. You know, the SPAC money that we use to build bridges with lawmakers in order to get legislation passed that we need passed for the Postal Service and for the betterment of NAPS members. 180. That's it. I was shocked that 39 of those were from the southern area, and I'm embarrassed to tell you that it was only 8 of us in Tennessee. I hope to change that. I hope to make that number way higher. But let me encourage all of you that if you are a branch president or a state president, let's make September spectacular. Let's all get behind signing up and giving $5 a pay period for the Drive for Five program. The cool thing about the program is the fact that 26 times a year, money would flow into that account. And again, it can only be used for legislative purposes. That's it. And when you do some crazy math, if 25,000 of us NAPS members were to give $5 a pay period, that would be $3.25 million. Now, we're not going to get 25,000 people to do it. I know that. But can you imagine what we could do with $3.25 million? Oh, my gosh. We could change the world with that kind of money. So, if you would like information on the September Spectacular, please contact me right here at Saturday Cup of Joe. You can actually go to the website. It's SaturdayCupofJoe.podbean.com. You can message me there, or you can send me an email at SaturdayCupofJoe joe@gmail.com. I want this to become a nationwide movement, and I can only do that if you'll share this with everybody that you know. So, I'm going to be talking a lot about that in the month of September right here on the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast. Okay, then, so that's going to do it for today's show. Thank you so much for listening today. We really do appreciate it. Now, you know the drill. That's right. You've got to share this program with every EAS employee that you know. I mean, every single one of them. Now, don't skip anybody. So I hope all of you have a great weekend. And remember, every great weekend starts with a great cup of Joe. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to the Saturday Cup of Joe podcast. Please note that the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of Robert Wakefield and do not necessarily reflect the views of the National Association of Postal Supervisors. We welcome your questions and comments, so send those to SaturdayCupofJoe@gmail.com.